Have a chance to have another win, and everybody here wants to do only really one thing, is win.
Tony looked excited when you talked to him.
Well, he's genuinely excited. There's nobody happier for our success because it's his success.
Do you foresee him being active as a backup next week?
I do. He's ready.
He's ready to go?
He's ready.
Oh, Jerry. He says Tony Romo will be the backup next week. And before the game, Adam Schefter predicted that 2016 likely will be Romo's last season with the Cowboys. Schefter has listed the Bears, Jets, and Broncos as potential fits. If Romo isn't with the Cowboys next year, where would you like him to go, Max?
Well, I am a Giants fan.
Really?
Which means in New York, people don't get this. If you're a Giants fan, you have to hate the Jets. You like both. No. If you're a Yankees fan, you have to hate the Mets. And now that the Nets are playing in Brooklyn, I suppose if you're a Knicks fan, you have to hate the Nets. The Nets were really never thought much of in the New York area. So I'm anti-Jet.
Okay.
So I want to see Romo go to the Jets. Not because Romo's not a fantastic quarterback when he's healthy, not because the Jets couldn't use him. On paper, it works out, and they could be a very good team. The problem is Romo will never be healthy for a whole season. That's not going to happen. And it's no news that this is going to be the last, Adam Schefter breaks great news all the time. But this is not news to people following the situation in the sense that $54 million cap hit means you cannot trade him this season. It also means if you can cut him at the end of the season, I think June 1st, you cut him and you save $54 million over 3 years and you have a quarterback, that means he will certainly be cut after this season. So he's their backup, which is a great safety plan for the Cowboys this year. And then he's heading somewhere else, and I hope it's to a team like the Jets, because it will undermine their fortunes in the long run, because given his back condition and the fact that he can't make it through a full season, if you game plan your season around him, you will be disappointed due to his health, not his talent.
Well, I'm known as the Cowboy hater, per se. I mean, it's really not them.
No.
It's really not them. It's their fan base, which I think is the most despicable, disgusting, nauseating fan base in American history. I can't stand them. It's not so much the Cowboys, it's their fans. But I will say this. With that in mind, Max Kellerman, I'm going to say that you're being quite cruel to Tony Romo. And I would dare say I don't think Tony Romo deserves that. I mean, after all, in New York City, what do you have? You have a franchise that has been moribund for quite some time. Todd Bowles tried to get them steered in the right direction. Last year was a decent season before they collapsed in that last game against Buffalo, and then they come back this year, and they wet the bed, and they're undisciplined, and now, the coach could potentially be in a hot seat going into next season because of the lack of discipline and focus they've displayed this year in New York. I don't wish that on a 36-year-old Tony Romo that's had about 3 or 4 back injuries over the last several years. A matter of fact, I want Cowboy Nation to know that I'm thinking about Tony Romo and his future health and what's beneficial to him in his life. His lovely wife, his new family, all of that other stuff. I want to be thoughtful towards Tony Romo. So rather than wish the Jets upon him, I would say the Denver Broncos. Because last time I checked, Demaryius Thomas ain't going nowhere. Emmanuel Sanders ain't going nowhere. C.J. Anderson had an opportunity to go to Miami, but John Elway matched that off and kept him in Denver. Okay, the offensive line is anticipated to be better. Kubiak is a Super Bowl champion coach. John Elway is a Super Bowl champion executive and former quarterback. And by the way, an executive that has experience picking a quarterback with back injuries from the past and ultimately doing what you can to protect him, to ultimately elevate him to the Super Bowl stratosphere. There is a history there, a record there, where John Elway and the Denver Broncos have been proven to be a beneficial landing spot for a guy, which is why I would wish such a thoughtful thing on Tony Romo. And you, Mac, you should be ashamed of yourself for throwing Tony Romo to the wolves that are in New York. I don't say that Tony Romo deserves that.
Let me tell you why. Because the Jets are an accident waiting to happen. Stephen, I don't know if you ever heard that expression before.
Yesterday was rough.
Look, no, it's nothing against Romo. Romo on the Jets, he would make them an excellent team while he was healthy. He wouldn't stay healthy. On the Broncos, if Tony Romo could somehow just get healthy for the postseason, for the playoffs, the Broncos would win the Super Bowl with him. If you put a quarterback of that quality on that team's going to win the Super Bowl. But what are the odds? He's going to have to get healthy just in time for the playoffs, and in the meantime, Simeon or whoever else is going to have to get them there. He can't stay healthy. Why is this so alien to people? It's obvious. He has a degenerative back condition It's not going to get any better. When he's on the field, he is excellent.
Well,
Can't stay on
the
field.
Jets are too busy trying to find a quarterback, whether it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, whether it's Bryce Petty or whomever. They're too busy trying to find Geno Smith when he comes back from his injury, even though he'll probably be gone. These are the kind of things that you're stuck with. Whereas in Denver, Trevor Siemian has done enough. Where if Tony Romo was there and he was a backup, you'd still be in a good situation if you're the Denver Broncos. So you can afford to have cover for Tony Romo in the event that he goes down. But if he's able to stay up, his experience, even though he's only got 2 playoff victories in his career, which is nothing to brag about, as we all know. Some people have elocuted that on this very show. I will say no names. My point to you is that it's a better situation for him in Denver than it is here, and that is the situation.
All right, let's talk a little college football on that note. Alabama is cruising while the other top teams in college football are faltering. So the question is, does it matter who the 3 teams are in the playoff, or are the Tide a lock for the title? Find out that next.
It's similar to what the Steelers are suffering from for the most part. Throughout the years when we've seen the greatness of Aaron Rodgers, and clearly we haven't seen enough of that this year. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not completely absolving him. But when we've looked at the Green Bay Packers, we've seen Rodgers as the guy that was so great, he's going to come to the rescue. Green Bay's defense bent and bent and bent all the time. It was rare that they were considered elite. Clay Matthews may have been elite in terms of getting to the passer, but overall as a defense, Clay Matthews, Sam Shields would do their job. But collectively, we looked at them and we didn't see greatness. And this year, they're awful. Now, obviously, injuries play a role. There's no doubt about that, and we understand that. And Eddie Lacy and his ankle injury inhibiting their offense to some degree, we've seen that. Aaron Rodgers go 31 for 51 for 375 yards yesterday, 371 yards yesterday with 2 TDs, but 2 interceptions. But to me, 21-0 in the first quarter to the Tennessee Titans, ultimately losing to Marcus Mariota, ultimately giving up 35 points in the first half. And this is in the aftermath of Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy saying the things that they've said. I'm looking at McCarthy. Do I think he deserves to be fired? No, he's been in the playoffs every year. The man's a credible coach. But I did ask the question last week, Ryan, to Max and Molly. I said, even though you're making the playoffs every year, damn, you got the greatest one of the greatest quarterbacks of this generation. Somebody that was arguably recognized as the best coming into this season, even after last year struggling. And you got 1 Super Bowl appearance and nothing else. And I'm just saying to myself, Mike McCarthy and this defense, damn, Ted Thompson, the general manager, and this defense, who believes in building through the draft. What is going on? It is time to ask these questions because I think Green Bay's in a world of trouble.
Real quick, if you give up 21 first quarter points, you're probably going to lose the game. And Aaron Rodgers can't play defense. It's as simple as that. And then when he starts to make a little bit of an attempt at a comeback and the defense keeps leaking, you're going to lose. Not Aaron Rodgers' fault. They're not playing defense. That's it.
That's it. You're done?
I'm done.
That was quick. Well, here's the reason why they aren't playing defense, right? Sam Shields on IR. Clay Matthews has been hurt. Randall has groin surgery, who was the second cornerback. Dom Capers' team is built on a fire zone scheme, which means they bring 5 players and play basically a matchup zone on the back end. You need corners that can cover. They don't have the guns. And so now if Dom Capers doesn't switch his mindset and say, okay, we're going to protect these people, you're going to have some games where you give up points. That's part of it. And to your point, Stephen A., when Aaron Rodgers got to the Super Bowl, it was Nick Collins, who's one of the more underrated safeties that's played in this generation, had to retire because of a neck injury. Tramon Williams, Charles Woodson,
the horses.
Clay Matt, they had the horses. And it wasn't because Aaron Rodgers was so great. That was a top 5 defense. So the Patriots and now maybe Seattle, they've got us all confused, right? For Stephen A. to say, and you only have 1 Super Bowl appearance, do you know how hard it is to get to the Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily you can knock them for only winning 1 in his 10-year, now 11-year tenure. It's tough to get there.
Respond to that?
Only got
Can
1.
Can I respond to that?
Definitely.
1-1.
Last 3 years, Green Bay has ranked like 22 or worse against the run. This year, obviously, they're having problems due to the injuries in their secondary against the pass. But here's why I bring that up. I in no way mean any kind of disrespect to players, former or current. in that regard. I understand that it's the ultimate team game and it's very, very difficult. But you know what's even harder than playing in the NFL? As somebody that never played, I'm going to speculate here, finding an elite quarterback.
I agree with that.
And so my point is that the Ryan Clarks of the world and the Damian Woodies and the Mark Schlerets and the Merrill Hodges and the NFL aficionados that surround us on this campus and in this building. Because regardless of the reporter, the extraordinary reporter I've been over the last 2 decades, by the way, regardless of all of that, regardless of
Molly, sometimes if you don't, Molly, sometimes if you don't toot your own horn, there's no music.
There we go. See, that's what I'm saying. Hey, that's the way to go. Listen, pounding that pavement, being that beat writer for damn near 20 years. Hell yeah, I'm going to add some credit to myself. Here's the deal. I listen to guys who know. And y'all can't have it both ways. You can't talk about how difficult it is to accomplish X, Y, and Z on an NFL level collectively, but then in the same breath, talk about how paramount and how pivotal it is to have that quarterback. If I have Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback and I'm an owner, I'm looking at Mike McCarthy and I'm like, yo, man, what's up? What? This all I got?
You'd like to get a little bit more done with Aaron Rodgers as quarterback. I want to make one point.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree with that. It's not like they're way underachieving, but you'd like a little more with that guy as your QB.
Get conference championship a few of them.
A part of rooting for teams is rooting for laundry. You know, like the Pittsburgh Steelers' reputation is defense. Same thing with the New York Giants. Northeastern, family-owned, Rooney's, Maras, you know, the whole thing. The bottom line is, at the moment, they have teams that are constructed more offensively, at least in recent years. It wasn't the LT Giants or the Giants that beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. It was a pass-happy offense without a lot of pass rushers for the Giants. Same thing with the Steelers. Run the ball, stop the run. No, they turned into a defense that couldn't cover the pass, couldn't stop the run, but, man, they could score a lot of points. And the branding of those teams has us thinking about them differently from what they really are. I give credit to coaches like Tomlin, like McCarthy, like whomever, who can take what they got and say, forget about the branding of this team and the laundry for a second. They're in this uniform. How do I win this game? How do I win this game this week? Offense or defense, come what may. And that's what's happening in Green Bay. That's what's happening in Pittsburgh. I know it's off-brand, but they're just trying to win with what they got.
No, that's how it has to work. That's how you have to adapt. You have to adjust, whether it's rules or people. You have to figure out how to put a competitive team on the field. The one thing I will say about Aaron Rodgers is, you follow him because of his play. When Aaron Rodgers plays really well, you can follow him. He's not going to lead you by what he says, about the way he presents himself. Because every time he talks in the post-game interviews, I want to throw up.
Yeah, he doesn't exude confidence and passion.
Why do you want to throw up?
Confidence, yes, but not passion.
Because I feel...
That's strong. Why do you want to throw up?
Because I feel there is an arrogance when he speaks, that the cloud, like, remember Pigpen had the little cloud that floated around? The cloud says, it's not me.
All right, I got it. But I'm going to throw this to you to end this segment.
That's fair.
I'm going to throw this to end this segment, because I hear Ryan talking. I am.
Ryan,
I got a question. Got a question. Because he is a bad man. Yeah. If you were playing and Aaron Rodgers was your quarterback, what would your expectations be as it pertains to results?
I would expect to win games.
It's all about.
But you don't need to talk about it in the press conference.
No, that's what I'm saying. We can sit there and talk about nitpick and go, you don't need to do this.
This won't be the end of this.
Because if Cam did it,
when it's Cam, thank you. We get on Cam.
I said it.
All right,
Seattle.
we gotta go.
I said it.
We could have done a whole topic on this. Ryan, thank you so much for being here.
I love Cam. He ain't Aaron Rodgers.
Thank you for making sense. Coming
Seattle.
up,
please.
Romo
You got a lot of nerve. You must be
back
crazy.
up next week. But how much longer will Romo have with that job in Dallas? Find out that answer.